On this episode of Michigan Fishing Nation TV. MFN TV is brought to you by Lunker City Fishing, Gator Bait Tackle, Hog Outdoor, Midwest Power Boxes, Porter Custom Fishing Rods, Jay's Marine Hardware, Underwater Green Fishing Lights, the Icewell Live Well, and Dead End Tackle.
Here at Angler's Point. Some perch minnows, walleye minnows. Nice selection of Lunker City finesse minnows. I picked up some blue ice.
Probably my last time this year, so I avoid fishing.
Bubble gum for the trip today.
Thank you.
We're heading out. Alright, we're here filling up. Here's Paul's boat. Ready to rock and roll. Michigan Fishing Nation, baby. We're out here on the St. Clair River. Out here with Paul in the front, Captain Paul, Jerry, and Rick. And we're toughing it out. There's only a couple boats out here doing some winter jigging. It's almost the first of the new year, and we're hoping to bring in the new year with a nice 4-man limit of eater walleye. And within just a few minutes into our trip, Rick was hooked up with one of the nicest walleye he's ever caught, making it a great start to today's adventure. Meanwhile, I'm fumbling with the net camera, not realizing how quickly his fish was surfacing. One down and plenty more to go. Oftentimes we'll hook fish with a stinger hook at the tail end of our bait, but this fish just inhaled that Lunker City finesse minnow.
Biggest ones I've caught this year.
Blue ice was the color of the day, and there were plenty more to come.
Nice little profile of that hog. Dude, that's a nice fish, man. Very nice. Oh.
Oh.
I always do that. I always forget.
The river was glass with just the right amount of wind to keep us awake and on the fish. We've been out before in some pretty harsh conditions.
There we go. Feels like a pretty nice one. It's a walleye.
The bite was a little tough today and the fish were very finicky, so we really had to slow our cadence down. Nonetheless, we were definitely adding more and more to the live well, and things were looking good. When river jigging for walleye during this time of year, you'll want to use this exact setup, a 3/4 to 1 ounce jig depending on wind conditions and water depth with a 4-inch Lunker City finesse minnow, tipped with a minnow, and held together by the treble and stinger hook. It can be a little bit tricky, but presentation is key. Once you're ready, toss her in and you're good to go. And just when I had thought Captain Paul was asleep at the wheel, he was hooked up with a beautiful winter walleye. Check out that thrashing and head shaking. This thing was barely hooked by the stinger. Luckily, we made it in. We were extremely fortunate to be on Captain Paul's boat that day. With a self-stowing and deploying trolling motor, what more could you ask for? There Jerry was in back, and he was all smiles, almost like he knew he was about to hook up. A quick photo op and in the live well it goes, because we are on to some back-to-back action.
MFN TV will be right back after a brief message from the following sponsor.
Thank you, sir.
In my opinion, the worst job on the boat is being the captain, because you have to navigate the trolling motor in a way to not only keep yourself vertical, but everyone else on the boat, which can be challenging at times with changing wind and river conditions. You'll notice here that we typically wait for the captain to lower his line and give us the green light when he's vertical, so that we can then drop our lines into the river so that we're all on the same page as far as staying as vertical as we can. The last thing you want to do is rush to get your jig down there before the captain, and next thing you know, your line is way off to the side or back of the boat. Here's Jerry switching out his jig and finesse minnow colors while we head up to do our next drift, going about 50 miles an hour while I'm holding his rod in the back. He's 75 years old and definitely knows his stuff, because as soon as he switched his gear, he was back on again. If you're not getting hits out there like you should, make sure you try switching up your colors.
Curse, I'll grab it. Nice fish. Alright. Finally. He got a big belly on him.
Good job. Nice fish.
Just when I started to think I was there to net everyone else's fish, I was finally hooked up to a nice winter walleye.
What did I tell you about that drift? Yeah, you're right. Never seen anything like it except over here.
Nice winter walleye here. Really?
I never even thought about
That means you're pretty darn good.
Huh? I was gonna say, I don't.
With that wind picking up, the cold was really starting to get to us, so it was a race against increasing wind conditions to bring home some fresh walleye for a nice home-cooked meal. And Rick was determined to make that happen. He doesn't play around when he hooks up, so you better have that net ready, or take cover when his fish are coming in.
Hey, Curtis, tie a 1 ounce on. You can get more in this north wind. We can get more control out of it. We'll get better jigs out of it. This 3/4 is really tough.
And that's a great tip coming from Captain Paul. Don't be afraid to put on a heavier jig when fishing shallow when wind conditions are picking up. You'll end up having better control and an easier time staying vertical for those hook sets.
You gotta learn how to set that hook, Paul.
Yeah. Net. They get off easy. You gotta get the net. Yep.
Oh,
That's a beaut, man.
That's a what?
It's a nice one.
Nicey,
Yep.
nicey, feisty.
And as daylight was slowly fading, we were ready to count up our haul for the day and head home to prepare the fryers. We ended up with some really nice fish, and you could tell the majority of them had been putting on their food bags for the winter in comparison to the skinnier walleye you'll find in the St. Clair River in the summertime. As I was counting the fish, I was thinking to myself how bummed we all had been from still having no solid ice in southeastern Michigan, but being able to take the boat out this time of year was definitely the silver lining. While it was no heated shanty on the ice, we were grateful for some fun but cold time on the water while sharing some stories and laughs with friends.
We got a whole sheet of ice on this boat here. I think this is probably the coldest that I've ever been out in a boat. But all in all, we got 12 nice ones. We got 3 hogs, and it was a good day fishing.
Until next time, thanks for watching MFN TV Tight Lines.